Okay, so just a quick update on the case. There has been enough episodes out at this point. We're about halfway through the investigation, and there's been a lot of movement, a lot of things happen in the case since the start of it, and we didn't really recognize or realize just how crazy it would get. We thought it was kind of done. We didn't realize there was a second player. We didn't realize there was more than one person working. And we certainly didn't, in our wildest dreams, assume that the con who's currently in jail would later admit that he was trained by not only Michael McKay, but Michael McKay's father in the family scam business, as it has been alleged to have been. That being the case, I just wanted to pause, take stock of everything that has been released, and just kind of, first of all, say thanks to the witnesses and the victims who have given their time and spoken about this. Some weren't so eager and in fact didn't speak, and that's fine. And some, and I think honestly, if I'm estimating that correctly, most of them didn't want to speak because they didn't want to give anybody information that might, help get him released. They want him to sit there and rot in prison for 10 years and serve his time and pay back everybody the restitution they deserve. And so, in any case, the ones who did speak, so grateful for. It couldn't have been released at a better time too. Women's History Month shows a lot of appreciation for the hardworking ladies that not only counted themselves as once victims, now victors over this case, and the lady who prosecuted them, the ladies at the Better Business Bureau who initially noticed the pattern of fraud that was happening and collected their data, created an investigation, formalized paperwork, and turned it over to the prosecutor's office. All women. And so that's a huge victory, especially when perpetrated by a man. It's good to, if it was a lady standing up against a lady doing this, that's one thing, but they showed a lot of bravery, and it paid off. So in any case, that kind of brings us up to the middle of the case. We have, let's see if I can pull my notes up here while I'm doing this. We have so far heard from Micah B., Renee, Edie, Hannah, the prosecutor, the Better Business Bureau ladies, even Robert Stoll's wife. So that's a lot of ladies. I'm going to go ahead and drop a hint bomb on everybody here and say there are 2 bonus episodes that I'm releasing for this series, this season. And that includes episode 8. And then after episode 10 is released in May, I'm releasing another one. And that one is the background on all of the interviews that didn't quite make it into an episode. They weren't quite long enough for an episode individually and by themselves, and they were kind of scattered, frankly, so they didn't line up with anything. But together, they create an episode long enough to kind of fill out that regular episode time frame that I've been hitting right about an hour, not including intros and outros. So yeah, I wanted to drop those and also talk about, at this point, we're also well knowledgeable of the fact that young, actually he's got a year on me, so he's 44-year-old man named Michael McKay. He immediately came onto our radar right at the end of episode 1. And he's only become more important as time has gone on. About this particular man, I have heard and spoken to a lot of people about him. Starting down the list, I've heard from 1, 2, 3 victims. All of these victims, by the way, just say he's a nasty cuss, right? After I heard from them, I went ahead and called McKay myself and confirmed that, in fact, yes, he is a nasty cuss. And that just kind of goes without saying. I believe their stories. he's just an angry dude. He's so angry. It is for that reason, in fact, that I'm naming next season Mad Michael's Millions, because all told, not only is he mad, but he, I believe, between all the victims, cleared over $1 million in fraudulent activities. And that's if I'm thinking of the same person, okay? At a couple different points in this case, well, I haven't actually even gotten into the case yet, but in dabbling into the witnesses for next season's case, I did not know at that time, when I was speaking to some of the victims, that his father's name is also Michael McKay. And the story on him is just as bad. The man's been fired. He's had his broker's license rescinded, stripped from him, whatever you want to call it there. He's had lawsuits launched against him. He's got, you just Google his name and the word fraud, and you'll come up with all kinds of interesting, if scary things about him. And when you couple that with the notion that his son is currently in jail and has been investigated for doing the same things, that rings a couple of bells. That raises a couple of red flags and sets off a couple of alarms. That will comprise next season. I can't right now estimate how many episodes that will be, but it's going to be a phenomenal season. We're going to wrap that one up, and I've got another case out of Oregon that involves a local politician pilfering funds from state coffers, county coffers, actually. And the worst part about that, I mean, we've heard about politicians backpocketing his own, lining his own back pockets as well as his cronies. But what is worse about him is that he took it from the timber funds, right? Like the state was supposed to have received timber funds so that they could put it back into the state, beautify it, keep the timber that is the lifeblood of their community. In fact, the state, really. I believe that Oregon, the forests of the Pacific Northwest are called the lungs of the planet. And this man didn't just steal money, right? All alleged. I have to get more information. I've only really had one interview so far. But he didn't just steal money from the county. He decimated the landscape and physically changed the temperature and the humidity of certain areas, dried up watering holes, just done horrible things to the environment up there. And I should probably also put a caveat in here that he couldn't possibly have done the entire thing. He wasn't even around when the early part of all this stuff going down happened. So, but he's kind of just got his face on it. He was the name I was introduced to. Won't reveal that name just yet, but it's got some upset people up there. And just like the one in Florida, it's probably worth me investing my time to go up there, stay for a few weeks, get on the ground interviews with the locals in the fight, and really kind of see what happens behind the doors, behind the curtain, so to speak, on the ground. So what else? There's a newspaper reporter that has been reporting on this for a long time. They made it really difficult for the newspaper to get some public records. And finally, when they turned them over, they found pretty dirty deeds afoot. So that's going to be an interesting case as well. That's season 1 and 2 for the Cabinet Con and Mad Michael's Millions. I think I might be calling season 3 Timber Trouble. And I might actually be preparing Timber Trouble for season 4. And I might sneak in another season into season 3 instead. And that one's going to be the case of the documentary that I made in Quartzite. That's going to be a pretty interesting season. I got to be careful not to give away too much because my documentary is very telling all by itself, and I don't want to downplay the doc with the podcast, but it is absolutely phenomenal what this town did to itself over the first 30 years since its incorporation. So in any case, I am still looking for local stories. If you're hearing this and you're loving the show and you have a story in your community that you want turned into an episode, perhaps even a season, if there's enough there, we'll absolutely consider it. Send those ideas to thejusticepod@gmail.com. And if you want to know what we're actually looking for, head over to legallyinsanefilms.com and scroll down to the bottom where it says pitch us. I think it's just pitch us, but it's legallyinsanefilms.com/pitch. And that will tell you what we're looking for. It'll tell you kind of like what to expect once you've sent in your pitch, all that stuff, some legalese there and stuff. And so, yeah, I guess I'll end this here, but thanks so much for joining us so far in the Cabinet Con. We hope you get a lot of local hometown value out of it from here on out. Find out how to protect yourselves against fraudsters doing this kind of crazy stuff in your neighborhood. Until next time, go legal, but don't go insane.